Something else that's come to my attention lately that a lot of people have been asking me about, and that is a document that seems to have come to light called the Future Strategic Issues and Warfare document, circa 2025. It's a document talking about the potential nature of father-term warfare, apparently released by NASA. It's a very strange-looking document, folks. It appeared in the form of a PowerPoint display, talks about bots, Borgs and humans, and welcomes us to 2025 AD. It claims to present information and future work with the US Air Force, with the National Research Council, the Army, Australian DOD, of course, DARPA, CIA, all the alphabet agencies, all of these people. It's very, very hard to know whether this is a real document or whether it is simply more disinformation coupled with real information, because that's often the way disinformation is released. They will release real information and then they will add embellishments to it which make it virtually impossible to believe, and that's the way they control the flow of information. Often, if something is getting out to people, they'll release something that embellishes it to the point of non-believability in the hope that people will throw the baby out with the bathwater, and that's what usually happens. So it's difficult to know whether this is actually a real document, but it's got a lot of stuff in there which is stuff that, again, we already know. We know about transhumanism, we know about nanotechnology, we know what they're doing with the chemtrails, we know about crossbreeding of different species, we know about the research that they're doing into the human genome, and so it's very, very hard to know whether it is actually a real document. But the thing is that as this document has been presented as a PowerPoint display, really what it is a possible analysis of the future, looking at current trends, looking at where we could go. It offers us possibilities of where this technology could possibly lead to. You've got to remember, folks, what's being conducted on this planet at the moment is a huge experiment, and depending on what minds are in control of what particular aspects of it will determine which direction things go. Of course, one of the main focuses of the document is on future warfare. Thereby we can see that it's an American document, of course, folks, because that seems to be the main focus of American culture, is on warfare. One must question why we need warfare at all. I think it's simply the product of a sick mind based in an economic reality. But I guess that's just my perspective of warfare. But like I said, folks, I don't see the need for a focus on warfare. What I see the need for is a focus on humanity, a focus on mankind, a focus on intelligence and compassion and consciousness, and a focus on us becoming all that we could possibly be as a species. And I certainly don't see any of that in this document, but I do see a huge focus on warfare and a huge focus on what the introduction of nanoparticulates and advanced technology into our environment is going to do. One thing I will say about it, though, folks, is that it looks like a transhumanist manifesto. That's really what it is. Virtually everything they're saying in this document basically confirms everything that I said in my last film, Trance-Formation, where I talked about the way we were going. I talked about smart dust. I talked about how chemtrails are a multi-platform delivery system for all sorts of things. And though it's hard to tell whether this is a real document or whether it is not, it certainly does contain a lot of very real information. Again, it's information that we are already aware of. It's simply putting it out there all in one document. And the reason this document has been given credibility is because apparently it comes from the NASA website. Again, this is hard to confirm. I've had a look at the site, but only briefly. I haven't been able to find the document on the NASA website, but you never know. It could be there. I haven't had time to do a very extensive search. The claim is that this document was penned by a man named Dennis M. Bushnell, who was apparently a chief scientist at NASA's Langley Research Center. Again, I haven't been able to confirm any of this because I simply haven't had time. But it is a very interesting document, folks, and it does talk about much of the stuff that we know is coming with the transhumanist agenda. It even talks about blending life with machine. It talks about particular types of plant and animal species that can be formed that would be able to live off the land, virtually robots that can eat organic food from the land, and this would be their power source. It talks about how much computing is going to escalate. It talks about digital brains. It talks about all sorts of things, folks. It really is the entire transhumanist manifesto laid out in one document. Whether it's real or not, it is an interesting document. It also talks about people being able to upload education very quickly in minutes instead of years, which is very reminiscent of the Matrix, for example, when Trinity was asking for a flight program for a helicopter, and they simply uploaded one into her brain so she suddenly knew how to fly a helicopter. It talks about using global warming as a motivation for getting much of this through as well, and also about using nanotechnology and electronic implants to deal with law enforcement issues. It does provide a lot of very interesting information, folks. It would be nice to know if it is a real document. But again, what we see with this, folks, is they're putting out information that is real, and they're letting people know where they're going. And again, you could look at this document and you could say this is something to fear. But really what I see when I look at the document is opportunity for change. Because if you really look at what's going on in the world around you, well, this is what's going on. It's all here in this document, like I said, whether it's real or not. But the thing is, what's suspicious about it is that it puts so much out there. It really lays the whole thing out on the table to the point that if you are Joe Public, who's never been aware of any of this stuff, and you were to read this document, you would probably not believe it. You would probably think that it just wasn't real. You wouldn't think there was any possibility that this could be where we were going, when actually it is exactly where we're going. It's exactly where they want to take us. So again, folks, it's a very interesting document. Whether it's controlled disinformation or whether it's simply there to stir up some sort of public outcry, again, is a very good question. And whether it's a genuine document, these are all very good questions. But it certainly is interesting. And because it's presented in the manner of a speculative display, saying, well, this is where we could go depending on which direction we take, it kind of puts it into the realm of science fiction for most people. But again, folks, the document is based on current trends and technology that is available right now. And if this technology continues to go down the direction it's going, then it will go down one of these pathways. And that's the danger, folks, that people see it as pure speculation, when really it's what's happening to the world today. And if it isn't a real document, then someone has really done their homework with this one, because they've really covered a lot of topics in there. Of course, you'd need to see the presentation that went with it to get the whole gist of what they were really saying, because the document simply, as I said, it's a PowerPoint display, and so it does contain bullet points. And I'm sure that if there was a lecturer presenting this PowerPoint display, they would have a presentation that went along with it. So it would have been nice to hear that one as well. But folks, again, it's an opportunity, and what it provides for us is recognition of where we're going, where they want to take us. So couple what this document says with what we've just found out about the data collecting practices of the NSA and where our society is going, and you kind of get a pretty comprehensive overview of what sort of a future we are allowing to be created around us and what sort of direction the world will go in if the people fail to come into their power. So again, it's an opportunity, folks, because here it is. This shows where our technology is going, and you'd have to question, why would we even be pursuing such things? Why would we be pursuing such technologies? Why would we be so focused on more improved versions of warfare? I mean, here we have a globalist agenda. The concept is to turn the whole world into one huge city-state controlled by one central banking system with one army. But if there's only one army, then what do they need an army for? Who's the army going to be fighting if the enemy is not the people? And according to the NSA, the enemy is the people. So that's why you need a global army. You need a global army to quell any uprisings of the people against the machine culture that is being superimposed over their reality. And all of this is coming to the forefront now. All of this is coming to public light now. People are starting to wake up, and people are finally realizing how the world is run, how corrupt this system is. We're starting to see how we are being affected by the environmental degradation that our corporate economic-based reality is creating. Because it is. That's what's destroying the planet, folks, is the economic reality that we're all subject to. It's the economic reality that causes us to pull such massive amounts of resources out of the earth. It's the corporate economic reality that causes us to make everything to break so that we're constantly replacing it in order to support the economic model. It's the corporate economic reality that creates all of the pollution on the planet, because it's much more economically viable to create pollution and to cut corners and to do all the things that we do. It's just cheaper to do it that way, folks. And that's what causes all of the problems. Cutting corners in order to support an economic model. Copping fines instead of good environmental practices because it's cheaper to pay the fine than it is to do the environmental work, because it's all based on economics. Exploitation of resources, exploitation of people, exploitation of whole countries in order to support an economic model. Exploitation of the earth in order to support an economic model. Exploitation of people and manufactured warfare and vast amounts of death and destruction and disease and spreading of depleted uranium and all of the things we do, all in order to support a fictional economic model. It's about time we woke up to it, folks, and it's about time we stood up and made a difference. I really believe this is the last generation that's going to have the chance to do it. I really do. I don't think that our kids are really going to have the wherewithal and the nous to want to do it. I think they're going to be too involved in texting each other and playing video games and locked into a television version of reality. I think if the people don't stand up and make a difference now and stand up and make their voices heard, then we're going to end up allowing a society to be created around us which is eventually just going to implode. We'll find that human consciousness will implode into nanotechnology. Who knows, maybe the insane dream of people such as Ray Kurzweil, who wants to turn the human race into the Borg and infect the universe with nanotechnology infused with artificial intelligence. Who knows, maybe something like this will come to pass and humanity will end up being the cancer that destroys the universe. And this is all possible if we don't realize the opportunities that are being given to us and choose to stand up and stand in our power and rein this completely out of control reality in and put human consciousness back on the right track. That's what we need to do, folks, and I believe that everything we're seeing in the world today are opportunities for us to realize this and to take the appropriate action. And it's important to understand here, folks, that I am not against technology. I actually like technology. Here I am sitting at a computer speaking to you now via the internet. I think technology is great. There's nothing wrong with it. The problem we are facing is the fact that we have psychopaths who are in charge of that technology. And so what their focus is control and warfare. And that's not what we need technology for. We want technology to improve the human condition. We want technology to improve life on this planet. And that's what it could be used for. If we employ technology in a conscientious way, we could literally achieve absolute wonders with it. But we're not doing that. We're seeing wonderful things in amongst what we're doing with technology, but there is always this focus on war and control in the background, and that's the problem. And so you've got to ask, why is that focus there? Why do we need such a focus on war? Because I've never met anybody who wanted war. If you travel around the world, you don't meet people who want war. The only people who want war are insane lunatics and public trustees who make vast amounts of profit from war. So if war is to be the main focus of technology, then it's pretty obvious that there are psychopaths in control of the technological field. That's the problem, folks. And all of this can be reined in, all of this can be fixed if people simply apply themselves. But you've got to get involved, you've got to make noise, you've got to start spreading information to people in the right way. And you only really need to do that by standing up and speaking publicly, going to public meetings and talking to your counsellors, writing letters, doing radio shows like I do. Do whatever you can to help people understand the reality that we're in and to help people find the power that they've got to bring about some effective change, because we can do this. We can all do this if we apply ourselves. And the biggest hurdle that we face in actually making a difference, folks, is we don't yet have the strength of numbers. All we need to do is gather that strength of numbers, and this can be done by speaking out and by leading by example in all that you do. That's how you spread information in the most effective way, folks, is you get involved in the community. You get involved in something, and don't be afraid to speak out, because the people you are speaking out against are simply people. They have no more worth than anybody else, and we only let them get away with what they do because we've forgotten our own self-worth. I really think that is a huge part of the problem that we're facing, folks, is that loss of self-worth in the individual within our society. And again, this is a result of programming. People feel that way because they're trained to feel that way. That's what this society does. Fear-based mind control, folks, that is the basis of this entire Western reality. And I think people are waking up to it. Well, I hope so. Anyway. Things certainly are coming to a head, though, folks, with this whole NSA revelation and the whole situation in Syria, the protests all around the world, Brazil, Greece, and I think Italy might also be online now as well. It's happening all over the globe, folks. People are waking up to the fact that we need to rein the ship of state in and get back on track, or we as a society, we as a species are simply going to implode. The world's run by psychopaths, folks, and we have to fix that. We're the only people who can. We can't allow the legal system to even try, because the legal system will just protect the psychopaths and put new psychopaths in place. That's what it's designed to do. And it's great to be here at this particular time in history. It's great to be part of it. It's great to be able to witness the huge awakening that is currently happening around the globe.